it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money and the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV. Here we are.
Hey guys, I'm not going to be here for long, but I just want to ask you a quick question. I want to read a news headline to you, and I want to ask you a question about this headline. This is something that should make you think a little bit. The headline is, Neighbors Outraged as Toddler 3 Teens Killed in Weekend Violence. This is a horrific Father's Day. This 3-year-old baby lost his life. That is a headline from Chicago Tribune. And as I read this headline, I'm going to read it to you one more time, and I want you to kind of think about this. The headline is, Neighbors are outraged as Toddler 3 Teens Killed in Weekend Violence. And then there's a quote, this is a horrific Father's Day. This 3-year-old baby lost his life. Now, here's what I want you to process for a minute as I read this headline to you about, dead teenagers and dead babies. How many of you automatically knew that most, if not all, of those people who died were black? How many of you just knew instinctively when I'm talking about Chicago, and I'm talking about death, I'm talking about homicide, I'm talking about black people? How many of you knew that? Like, how many of you really sat back for a minute and said, wait, there's a lot of white people in Chicago. I don't think Chicago is even 50% black. I don't think so. I got to double check that. But there's a lot of white people in Chicago. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of white people. But why is it? And I thought about this today. I read the headline in Chicago Tribune. And when they said that a 3-year-old baby lost his life, I instantly pictured a black baby. When they said 3 teenagers were killed, I instantly pictured 3 black children that were murdered. When I say children, I'm talking about anybody under the age of 18. Why is it? Somebody tell me. I need you guys to really process this for a minute. Why is it that when I hear a story like that, I just know that those people that are dead are black? And these are real deaths. I know right now they're only giving you white people have only given you permission to talk about corona deaths. I know right now white people have only given you permission to talk about police deaths. But I'm going to give you permission to talk about any death. Like, seriously, I'm giving you, I really just kind of think we need to really process this whole thing. You know, when they get you in these liberal and these conservative boxes, this Democrat, Republican bullshit, to the point where black people won't even talk about the reality of what's going on in some of our communities. Like, black people won't even talk about black on black crime. Like, if you bring it up, then you sound like a Trump supporter. You supporting the Republicans. Why in the fuck am I supporting the Republicans when I bring up a dead black baby? When I talk about black people who died, whose lives matter just as much as George Floyd, their lives matter just as much as the people that died from corona. I'm just telling you, as black people, we need to stop getting our cues from white folks. Seriously, we need to stop getting our cues from these politicians and start looking at the reality. Because I'm going to tell you like this, I guarantee you that if I went to any of y'all and just said, here's a headline, 50 people shot in Chicago, 12 people murdered this weekend, 12 of them died, or 11 of them died, something like that, and 50 people were shot. Y'all know as well as I do that you instantly, when you hear about gunshot wounds and deaths, you're thinking about people that look like us. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Why are you right? Well, my sister worked in the coroner's office in Chicago. She said that 95% of her homicide victims who died from gunshot wounds were young black and brown boys. That's what she said. She said, yeah, you could tell because they'll have the tattoos on their face, tattoos on their arms. You could tell that they was into some stuff or whatever. Right. So I think that what you've really got to kind of take a second and really process is that you're really doing yourself a huge disservice when you let white people tell you what things you're allowed to mention. Like, I've literally heard black people say, well, no, don't mention black on black crime because white on white crime is out there. White on white. Okay, cool. If that's the case, if white on white crime in Chicago is as bad as black on black crime, I want you to find me a weekend in the last year or last decade where 50 white people were shot and 11 of them died in the same weekend in Chicago. Maybe it's happened. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just trying to say, because there's more white people. Chicago, thank you for the statistics. Somebody said that Chicago's 49% white, 30% black. I guess the rest is like Latino and stuff like that. And it is not putting white people on a pedestal. It's not saying white people are better than you. It's saying that you have some issues in your community that you got to deal with. And maybe it starts with the politicians. We got a black mayor. I really pray to God that one day she learns how to protect black people the way she can protect white people. Because I don't hear about too many 3-year-old white babies being shot in Chicago, especially on the north side. But I hear every weekend, I bet you every weekend there is a black baby under the age of, say, 10 shot somewhere in Chicago on the west side or the south side. And so I just really want you guys to kind of reconsider this whole thing when they tell you, out of your allegiance to these political parties, they tell you, well, don't mention black on black crime because white on white crime is just as bad. Black on black crime, almost like it don't exist. No, man, you got a problem. And the reason that you can own it and talk about it without giving up your political leverage is that a lot of these problems were caused by other people. Black people don't make those guns. I bet you not one single gun manufacturer is in any hood in Chicago that I know of. I don't know any Smith & Wesson type gun manufacturer in the south side of Chicago or the west side of Chicago. Not one black person that I know anywhere in Chicago is growing coca leaves and exporting cocaine out of their backyard. Not one. That's coming from south of the border where they letting illegal immigrants come through and they run it through Chicago because it's a hub to the rest of the country. So I just really think as people, I think that we look crazy when we will yell and scream and cry and moan over the death of one person, like say a George Floyd, who deserves our respect. But then we will totally not even notice 30, 40 people dying in all these major cities, like right there in our neighborhood. Like, that's weird to me. Somebody said, Boyce, are you okay? Hell, fuck no, I'm not okay. And you shouldn't be okay either. If you're sitting around okay in the middle of this chaos, then please get off my channel because you clearly are brain dead. They have clearly drugged you. You have clearly smoked the entire crack pipe of American media. No, I'm not okay with this. That's why I'm talking right now, because I could be working. I was working on something. I'm taking a break right now because we got to snap out of this. And I'm not talking to everybody. Some of y'all ain't going to get it. That's fine. But I'm talking to the people that are feeling like, wait, something ain't right. This ain't making no sense. This ain't adding up. I'm just telling you that it is okay. I'm giving you permission, my permission to speak on it all. I think that if you really want to talk about, just focus on that phrase, Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives matter, then Black lives need to matter every day of the week. Black lives don't just matter on Monday or on Thursday. They should matter Monday through Sunday. If Black lives matter, they should matter not just in one city where all the media attention is. Black lives should matter all across the world, all across the United States, all across Africa, all across Europe. If Black lives matter when somebody's being shot by the cops, Black lives should matter when somebody gets shot in the hood. A person's death should not get more attention and more mourning and more ceremonious, whatever the hell that was we did last week with the George Floyd stuff. There shouldn't be more ceremony when one person dies from the hands of the police than there is when another 100 people are dying from all kinds of crazy stuff that's going on in our neighborhoods that don't make no damn sense. So I just really think that as we challenge these systems, you got to make a decision, right? Are you trying to feel good, or are you trying to actually solve the problem? If you're trying to feel like you solved the problem, then keep doing what you're doing, because media will feed you enough symbolism that you can feed yourself on symbolism your entire life. You can sit around and believe that somehow by helping George Floyd's daughter go to college, you've really made a difference in the black community. No, you made a difference in that little girl's life, but that's not the same as really changing a problem, fixing an issue. You can think that by focusing on police homicides, which I believe actually are a fraction of all the crazy stuff happening in our neighborhoods, you can go around convincing yourself that somehow you've just saved a tremendous number of black people because you stopped the police and you stopped coronavirus, but you ignored all the black on black homicides, which are very, very real. Black on black crime is a real thing. And you can also keep ignoring all the other ways that black people die. All the black deaths. I mean, sure, we got corona, absolutely, but then you have diabetes and heart disease and strokes and hypertension and all these other things that are killing black people, and you completely ignore those because you're focused on one thing, and you think that focusing on more than one thing is going to cause you to lose focus, or it's not going to work, or you're not going to be able to make a difference anymore. And I'm just saying that it's okay to acknowledge it all. It's okay, if you're really trying to stop something, like if you're really trying to sort of implement this idea that says Black Lives Matter, then they have to matter all the time. They can't just matter in certain situations. That don't even make no damn sense. Because to some extent, that makes you a white supremacist. And the reason that makes you a white supremacist is because you tend to only believe Black Lives Matter when white people give you permission. You tend to only believe Black Lives Matter when white media covers a particular crime. You only believe Black Lives Matter when a million white activists show up and protest alongside you, but Black lives don't matter in the areas where the white people won't show up, right? So to me, that makes you a white supremacist because you're allowing the Democrat-Republican divide created by your oppressor to help to determine when you are allowed to have righteous outrage over what's happening to your people, right? So George Floyd gets all the attention, all the celebration, all the grief, all the respect, and you don't even know the names of all those people that died this week in Chicago and in every other city across America. So you're inherently stating that his life is more important than their life, and I think you got to reconsider that policy because I don't think that's going to win for you, and it actually makes us a little bit crazy. So I'm not a white supremacist. I don't get my fucking cues from white people. I don't get my cues from you. I don't get my cues from anybody. I get my cues from what I see. I get my cues from God. I get my cues from my conscience. And my conscience tells me that something is not right about this. That if you don't want to talk about black on black crime and want to act like, like in the city of Chicago, you really want to run around here trying to lie to me and convince me that people are being shot up in the white neighborhoods the same way they're being shot up in the hood. That's just stupid because none of that is confirmed by any facts or any data whatsoever. But what happens in politics, and I'm just telling you, I'm talking to the people that really are trying to be smart here. What happens in politics is politics just makes you stupid. It really makes you see an elephant in the room and not see the elephant, right? It really, like literally because I notice this, because I tend to be heavily focused on facts, data, and logic. And I can lay out facts, data, and logic to support almost every single thing I say. And people won't respond to that. It's not like people say, I never thought of it like that. You're absolutely correct. There are some people who just get mad. All they know how to do is get mad. And then what they'll do is they'll attack. They'll say, oh, you must be a Trump supporter. Who did I mention Trump? Like, where did Trump's name even come into the conversation, right? And that to me tells me, again, it's a white supremacist construct that you're operating in because you're operating in this world where either you're a Democrat or a Republican. So white people pick two categories for you. For your dumb black ass, you got two categories. You can either be a Democrat or a Republican, and if you're not one, then you must be the other. I'm not doing any of that. You're talking to a free black man right now. And I really think at the end of the day, it's going to be the free black people that are going to help liberate us from this nonsense. It's not going to be the slaves. So anyway, that was my 2 cents. I just had to share that. And I just saw that headline, and all those people died. And it was a simple little thing. I read the headline and I'll read it again for you. It says, neighbors outraged as toddler and 3 teens killed in weekend violence. So in Chicago this weekend, over 50 people were shot. About 11 of them died. 11 or more died. And it says, so there's a quote here that says, this is a horrific Father's Day. This 3-year-old baby lost his life. And I thought about that and I said, God damn, I cannot believe it blows my mind. I said, because I stated, I put it on my page and I was like, this is what's happening to our people. And I said, boys, how did you know that these were black people who got murdered? And I said, damn, I knew because I knew. I knew because it's always us. It's almost always us. You know, and I'm like, okay, so is the media lying? Like, were there 60 white people who got shot in Chicago and I didn't know about it? They're not reporting on it? I mean, we know white people do things, right? They commit white-collar crimes, they commit robbery, they use drugs, they do all kinds of things, right? So we know white people do bad things, but I was just like, why is it so instantaneous that when I see a headline like that in Chicago Tribune, I know that the victims are black? And you do too. You know what Chirac is. Somebody wrote Chirac. You know what it is. So ask yourself that question. How is it that when you see a headline like that, you instantly picture a black face? Like if I said, bet me money, I'm going to bet you $50 on the race of that baby that died. And how many of you, give me a yes or no in the chat. Give me a yes or no. How many of you would have said black if it was $50 on the line and you had to bet on the race of that 3-year-old baby that died? How many of you would have guessed black? It would have been almost everybody. And that right there is something you got to really think about. It means that you are so numb to your own death and your own suffering and your own genocide that you don't even pay no attention to it. And you don't really talk much about it because white media has not given you the right to do that. I guarantee you that if tomorrow Rachel Maddow and all those MSNBC types started talking about the death and the violence in Chicago, y'all be all over it. That will be the number one topic of conversation in the black community. But because they're not discussing it, because they've told you, they've instructed you, your bosses have told you that bringing up black on black crime is really supporting the Republicans, a lot of y'all Negroes won't even mention it. So that makes you a sucker, man. I'm sorry, that makes you a sucker. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. Have a good night. Thank you for listening. Hit the thumbs up button and stuff like that on your way out. And just think about what I said. You don't have to agree, but just think about it. If you can prove me wrong, then that's cool. But if you can't prove me wrong, then you just reacted on emotion. I can't respond to your emotions. I can only respond to facts and information and logic. So take care, everybody. My heart goes out to all those people that died this weekend, and hopefully they'll get the attention they deserve. So have a good night, everybody. I'll see you soon. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here.